Alright guys, welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. Today I'm going to have you guys try to figure out if you can see what's wrong with this cow before I even start working on her. Okay, maybe it's not that obvious. You need a hint? If you watched the video, The Curious Case of the Cross-Legged Cow that I posted a few weeks back, you probably have an idea of what I'm going to find. Can you see it now? Did you guess right? If you didn't watch that previous video, one of the symptoms of lameness in that front inside claw or that medial claw is for a cow to cross her legs or slide that foot closer to the midpoint of her body. And what that does is puts the weight, which is typically more focused on that inside claw, and move it to that outside claw. She does that naturally to take the weight off of that sore toe. So that's how I can tell right off that it was going to be a front foot and an inside claw that had a lesion on it. Now, sometimes it can be both feet. On this particular case, it wasn't. It was just this right front. But that's a telltale symptom that allows me to get a jump on diagnosing a hoof injury or a hoof lesion before I've even lifted the foot up. Unlike that previous case where that ulceration was in the typical sole ulcer site, this ulceration is in the white line, what I call a white line ulceration. And the symptoms that she exhibited by crossing her feet are the same, in that she's just trying to take weight off of that inside claw, that medial claw, and transfer it to that outside claw. I get a lot of questions about the spray that I use. It's called chlorhexidine. This is an antiseptic spray that I use to clean the lesions and to clean out these areas when I'm working so I can get a better idea of the cuts I need to make. All I'm doing here is removing a little bit more of this outside wall with my grinder. The outside wall is a very hard consistency, and it's difficult to cut with your hoof knife. So the best way to do that is to remove some of that with the grinder, and that thins that out enough so you can do some knife work. What I don't want to do is remove too much of that outside wall. As you can see here, I've removed just enough to expose this lesion, but I don't want to remove too much of that outside wall. That outside wall is what transfers the weight from the cow on the inside of the foot to the outside of the foot to the ground. So I don't want to remove that outside wall if I don't have to. So I'm removing just enough that I can expose this lesion to get it to heal, but not enough that I'm going to compromise the weight distribution factor of that outside wall. If you're wondering why I don't remove more of that sole on that medial claw, the claw that I'm working on right now, why I don't lower that sole down further to take more weight off of that, the reason I don't do that is because I want this foot to be balanced when all is said and done. I am going to put a block on that other claw to take the pressure off of this one, and that's going to provide relief in the short term. But in the long term, once this lesion is healed, I don't want that medial claw a lot lower than that lateral claw. I want him to be balanced. So I balance them out now, and then I apply the block to give that extra elevation that I need for that claw to heal. And that way, when the block does come off, those claws will be balanced, and we won't have to deal with future issues like this later on. Not only are we dealing with an ulceration here, but it's got some digital dermatitis growing on it as well. The way I can tell that, first off, was earlier on in the video where you see some of that gunk coming out of there. It's got a distinct smell to it, and the consistency of it I can tell was from digital dermatitis. Also, the sensitivity as I'm working on this, you can see her flinch a little bit each time I get even close to that. That extra sensitivity is common with digital dermatitis, as well as, which you can't see very well on the video, but the appearance of it. You can tell it's not perfectly healthy corium. It's got a distinct look to it that signals dermatitis. As I mentioned earlier, I am going to apply a block to this to elevate that injured claw off the ground. And a question I get all the time is why do you use rubber blocks, or when do you choose to use rubber blocks versus wood blocks? And for me, I almost always use rubber blocks just for the extra comfort. They're nice and soft and cushioned for that lateral claw that's now going to be bearing all of the weight that foot normally does. But sometimes I do need to use wood when I want extra stability, when I want to create a nice rigid foundation for that claw and give it more stability. I'll use a wood block. But most of the time I'm going to go with rubber just for the comfort's sake. Because there is digital dermatitis on this lesion, I'm going to apply salicylic acid to heal that up, and then I'm going to drop it on the floor. Let's try that again. Now I'm going to use salicylic acid because it's a much milder solution than my copper sulfate paste that I usually use, and this basically is going to take away the pain and help kill the bacteria that cause the lesion as well. And now the final test, we see how she walks on it. Thanks for watching, guys, as always, and we will see you on the next one.